Well, I hope you've enjoyed this training module going over the script for selling cash discounting. In this last video, we're very briefly just going to cover the objections and rebuttals that are down at the bottom of that script document. Very basic information. It's not going to take a lot of explanation from many of you. You're going to naturally understand a lot of what we're doing here, but I do want to run through it quickly with you. So the first objection is not interested. So primarily, this is going to be a concern when you're on the phone, but of course it's going to happen in person as well. So let me give you the response here. I'm sorry if I caught you at a bad time. May I ask, do you already have one of these programs where you no longer pay to process credit cards? So I want you to notice a couple things about this one. Obviously, I'm keeping it really short because they're about to hang up or they're about to tell me they're not interested to get out. So at this point, I just want to real quickly say something. And so the idea here is if they're really not interested, most likely they have no idea what I'm even talking about, you know? So I just want to say something that's going to kind of drive that value proposition home real quick. And also I want to make them feel like they're being left out. In other words, other businesses are doing these programs. And so why wouldn't they do it? So I'm assuming they must be doing this program already. That's the only reason they wouldn't be interested is that they're already doing cash discounting. So I'm like, are you already doing one of these programs where you eliminate the processing fees on the credit card transactions? They're like, no, we're not. You know, it's like, okay, so are you saying that you don't want to eliminate your credit card processing fees? You know, all of a sudden it kind of gets them to a point where they have to kind of be like, well, wait a second, I'm not stupid. I don't really, it's not that I don't want to do that, you know? And so we really want to grab their attention there. The next objection, I don't want to change my equipment. You know, I'm so glad you brought this up because a lot of our clients had that same concern. We do have some great equipment options like, and then, you know, whatever point of sale system you think is a good fit for them. You might have heard of that one. But we also have the ability to download our software to your existing equipment and still eliminate your processing fees. I tell you what, let's set up a call when you have a few minutes so I can go over a little bit more information. So again, we're just trying to, in this script, we're really just trying to get them to a point where they're willing to give us that 10 minutes of time. It's that selling in stages. And so at this point, we just want to say basically, hey, that's a legitimate concern. Other people had that concern. There's a lot of things we can do for you. Let's set up a time to talk. Okay. Next objection, just send me some information. You know, right here is one of these key moments where a lot of salespeople drop the ball because it's like they feel like they're losing the conversation. And so they go on the offense too strongly, too quickly, you know? Well, hold on. I mean, I'm here now. Let me explain because this is such a good program. Don't do that. Now you're arguing with them. We don't want to argue with them. Instead, let's agree with them. You know, they're saying send an email. Great. No problem. Yeah, we'll fire out some information right away. What's the best email address for you? So they asked to send some information. So now they have to give you the email. Well, great. Now we've slowed everything down. We're getting the email address. We're having a normal conversation. Okay. Okay, got it. Now, obviously, if there is a real shot that you might qualify for our program where we eliminate your payment processing fees, I'm sure that's worth a few minutes of your time. I'm going to email the info to you right now. Then with your permission, I'd like to go ahead and take 10 minutes just to give you a quick follow-up call to make sure you got the email and just answer any other questions that you might have. Would tomorrow at 10 a.m. work better for you or Friday at 2 p.m.? And I keep saying give you a call because that's in the script here, but I'm assuming most of the time it's going to be, you know, I'll stop back by. You know, I like to stop back by for at least 10 minutes and follow up with you. Okay, last objection here. I've heard of these programs. I don't want to charge my customers. So this objection really is the only one that matters. This is the number one objection everybody's going to have. Hey, if we do this, it's going to be bad. You know, I don't want to charge my customers for it, you know? And so here's how I get around that objection. I try to really slow down and just be really transparent, really honest with them. I say, you know, I'll be honest with you. When these programs first came out a few years ago, I felt exactly the same way as you do now. I mean, I thought, what if customers get upset? You know, it's like, this is a problem. Well, you know what? Now that there's tens of thousands of small business owners in the U.S. that have implemented these programs, we found that the effect, I mean, especially for auto repair shops, is about the same as, you know, any small price increase that you might do. You know, a few customers are going to notice, but it's back to business as usual within a few days, except, you know, you've now wiped out this huge expense for your business. So having said all that, you know, we absolutely do have other options. We would never try to lock you into one of these programs. And I know each business is unique and what's right for one business isn't necessarily right for another. But with that in mind, I'm sure you would agree that this is worth exploring a little further with me just to learn how we have eliminated the processing fees for thousands of other small business owners like you. because we can give them, plenty of options to keep their customers happy. So could I get 10 minutes of your time either, tomorrow I could stop by around 10 a.m. or maybe 4 p.m. just to kind of go over the program with you in a little bit more detail when you have some time. And that way we can evaluate if it's the right thing for your business or not. Okay. So, when we're going over the customer objection, my customers are not going to like it. A couple of additional tips I can give you. I like to use a few numbers. I like to use 95%. And I like to use 1%. So let me explain these two numbers. 95% is what we found. That is the percentage of businesses who try cash discounting who will stick with it long term. So over the course of let's say a 60-day period, what we've seen statistically is that only about 1 in 20 businesses that try cash discounting say that wasn't right for me. My customers hate it. I got to switch back. So you can present that to the merchant in several different ways, as a positive or a negative or both. And so a lot of times I'll tell the merchant, I'll say, let me tell you one percentage that I think will really help you to kind of understand, the risk scenario, because there's a risk to everything. Anytime you change something in your business, that's a risk. And the important thing about a risk is to make sure you understand it and you evaluate it and you know what you're going to do in different situations, right? So to give you an informed decision, we found that 95%, so 19 out of 20 businesses who try cash discounting for 60 days, for 30 days, whatever it is, they stick with it. The savings are obvious. They're not having really any big issues with customer complaints. And they're like, this is obviously a no-brainer. We're making an extra $15,000, $20,000 a year. Why wouldn't we do this? But that also means there is 1 in 20 businesses where they don't like it. It's not a good fit. So let me explain what we would do in that situation. And now you go in and explain whatever your company does for traditional processing. If cash discounting doesn't work out, make sure you're ready to explain what that looks like, right? You can switch them back to traditional processing, whatever those rates would be, and talk them through that a little bit. Okay. The other percent I like to use is 1%. And I say, let me tell you one other percentage that's something you need to be aware of that's really a negative. Understand that about 1% of the transactions in your business, about 1% of the time, customers are going to notice that we've done this price increase and they're going to say something about it. And it's not going to be, they're not going to say, hey, we love this. They're going to say, hey, why am I being charged more, to use my card? What is this, And so what we found is that is a percentage that you need to be prepared for. Now, if you train your staff to talk correctly about this and explain to them, look, the price of accepting credit card payments, it keeps going up. And so we're going to do a price increase on everything in the store to offset that cost, but that just didn't seem fair because we do have a lot of people that pay with cash or check, and it doesn't cost us anything to accept those forms of payment. So what we did is we did that tiny price increase, but we still gave that cash discount so that if you do pay with cash, you're still paying that original price. Now, Mr. Jones, if you can train your employees to say that to the customer, what we found is that there's no noticeable change in behavior at all with consumers. We've had big portfolios. We've seen what happens. There's no drop in revenue. There's no drop in processing. So all of that, at least from what we've seen so far, is no drop. Now, again, your business is unique. So of course, if things get going and you run into a problem with it, that's why I talked to you about the 95% rule and how we are set up to switch you back to traditional if necessary. So those are a few of the key objections with cash discounting and how to get around them.